cut out the vegetables. I cut out any grains that I was consuming. Basically, meat and fruit was my diet for the month of January. And almost immediately, within a week or two, my digestion had been the best it ever had been. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 36 of the Clean Kitchen podcast. A lot of you know I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease back in 2018, my senior year of college, and I have had a lot of different symptoms throughout the years, primarily a lot of digestive symptoms, but also a lot of lower back pain, leg pain, just overall, not feeling great, tired, not a lot of energy, headaches, basically everything there is. But with that being said, I have tried a lot of different diets over the years, and some of them have worked better than others. So in this podcast episode, we're going to talk about the different diets that I experienced, which ones I kind of felt the best on, which ones I kind of felt the worst on, but also just going into depth on what each of these diets are and the different foods that you can consume on these different diets. That sound good, Kevin?
That sounds great. I think the other piece of this too that I want people to take away from the next 30 or 45 minutes is your willingness to experiment with different diets.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find the right one the first try. It's just unlikely. And the answer might be different for different people. So that's a common theme that we'll talk about is Kyle's willingness to try something out, see how he feels, and then if it works, great. If not, let's do something different and continue to kind of stay positive.
Yep. All about the experimentation. What works best for you?
Yes, absolutely. That's what this all is. All right.
Exactly.
Let's get into the first diet then, Kyle. The first one. So we're going to actually go in chronological order of the diets that you tried out when you were really getting into food. So the first one you actually tried is vegan. And to give people quick high-level background on a vegan diet, really what it does is it excludes any sort of animal products. So that's meat, that's dairy, eggs, honey, and it really instead focuses on plant-based foods, which includes things like fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and seeds. So that's what a vegan diet is. Kyle, first thing I want to know, how did you feel when you were on the vegan diet?
Well, first, let me take a step back because when I first got into health and nutrition, the vegan diet, this plant-based diet was everywhere. It was this is the diet you should be on. This is the healthiest diet. This is going to cure your disease. This is going to help you lose weight. You're going to feel more energy. All of this stuff, all of these claims that I heard multiple experts and doctors talking about this diet. And I was like, well, this sounds great. I got to give this a shot. So like Kevin said, I cut out all of the meat, the dairy, the eggs. I was told that, meat is difficult to digest. Eggs are bad. They're high in cholesterol, all of this stuff. So I go on a diet with mostly fruits, vegetables, some grains here and there, not a whole lot, but then nuts and seeds as well. And I was already in rough shape when I tried this diet because I was very desperate. I had a lot of digestive problems. Basically, every time I would eat something, my stomach would hurt almost immediately after I would eat something. And like I said, I had a lot of this lower back pain, like almost nerve pain that would start in my back and also go kind of down my butt through the back of my legs, which I've learned now it's all related. So how did I feel on this vegan diet? Well, I did it for maybe a month or two, but quickly realized it was not the diet for me. So my digestive symptoms, unfortunately, I think they got even worse when I started this vegan diet. I was every morning. So for breakfast, I would have a smoothie. I would just dump a bunch of fruits and leafy greens, spinach, kale, whatever I had into this giant smoothie, some different plant-based protein powders, things like that. And kind of looking back at it now, I'm like, why did I do that? Because after I would have this smoothie, I always felt bad. I always felt bloated. I always felt tired after I ate it. My digestion wasn't good, but my idea was I'm blending all of these beneficial foods up so they're super easy to digest, and they're super nutrient dense. These fruits, vegetables, plant-based protein powders. This is what I need. So while I was doing it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is good. Like, I just got to keep doing this. But like I said, a lot of my symptoms worsened. Terrible digestion. I I also was always cold after I would have the smoothie because I was putting a lot of frozen fruit and vegetables in there, and I was just like freezing, and it didn't satisfy me either. I was never satiated after I would consume this. I always felt hungry throughout the day, and yeah, it just overall wasn't good. So that's what I would have for kind of breakfast slash lunch, and then dinner. I think I would have like maybe a salad with a bunch of different nuts and seeds, and maybe like a homemade dressing, something like that, which again didn't feel great, didn't fill me up, not good.
The one thing I remember too, was this part of this time you got really into, I think it was like celery smoothies or like juiced celery?
Celery juice.
Celery juice? Was that this time as well?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was probably around the same time. Yeah. I would do celery juice in the morning, first thing in the
Mhm.
morning.
Yeah. It was like right away. That was how you started your day.
Yeah. That I wouldn't say that made me feel bad, but it was disgusting.
Oh, it's disgusting.
But I was like,
Yes.
this is gross, so it's got to be healthy for me.
Yeah. It's just extra healthy with how gross this is.
Right, right. I don't think that was the case. I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend celery juice unless you absolutely love the taste.
Yeah. I don't think many people do.
No. So yeah, so I didn't feel great on this diet. I really only did it for a couple of months until I eventually added meat back into my diet. But another thing to note while I was on the vegan diet was I felt so, or I guess two things. One, I lost weight. I was already like kind of I've been like skinny my whole life, but I think I lost even more weight when I went on the vegan diet. Was probably definitely not getting enough protein or high quality fat or anything like that. So I was probably down to maybe 140 pounds or something like that. I've always hovered around 150 throughout college, or I guess throughout high school and throughout college, always around 150. So I lost weight on the vegan diet. And I also felt so fragile. Like, I remember one time I went to go work out, and I guess I just made one wrong move with one of the weights, and it totally messed up my wrist. And it wasn't even like I was doing a lot of weight or anything like that, but I tweaked something in my wrist, and then it took forever for it to actually heal and get back to full strength. So felt very fragile. I also badly twisted my ankle playing basketball when I was on this diet as well, and that took like over a year for it to fully heal. So I had to like wear a brace on my arm and then on my ankle as well.
Yeah, I remember that. It seemed like it was just abnormal how long it was taking for you to feel better from a sprained ankle, which
Yeah.
people have frequently.
Yeah.
One point you made there, which is important, is that you lost weight when you were on this diet. And I think most people, when they hear the word diet, they associate that with losing weight, which
Mhm.
is why I think people tend to think the vegan diet is a good thing, is because a lot of people have a goal of losing weight, and when you have nothing but fruits and vegetables, you tend to lose weight
Mhm.
because you're not consuming as many calories as you may have been previously. But maybe talk to me a little bit about how there's other factors that people should consider outside of just weight. And I think you kind of you're hinting at them there. Your how you feel, your mood, your energy levels. How should people also factor that in to choosing a diet that works for them?
Yeah, a lot of people when they try a new diet, they just look at the number on the scale as opposed to looking at how is your digestion, how are you sleeping, how are your overall energy levels, how's your concentration and focus, like do you have brain fog, or are you able to focus and get the things done that you need to get done. So whatever new diet you're trying, I think it's important to take all of those things into consideration. And specifically with the vegan diet, a lot of people go on a vegan diet, but it turns out that most people actually go back to eating meat within a few years. There was a study done by the Humane Research Council, and they looked at a sample of 11,000 U.S. participants, and they found that 84% of people who have adopted either a vegetarian or a vegan diet have gone back to eating meat at some point in their lives. And I think that in and of itself says a lot because, which we're going to get into later, the amount of nutrients and amino acids and high quality protein found in animal products, found in meat, chicken, eggs, um, we need. Humans need these nutrients to truly thrive.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. That it makes complete sense. And I know we talked about this on another episode before too, about vegans in general and how a lot of celebrities tend to be vegan. And a lot of them have talked about how it didn't work out for them. So we have a lot more information. We'll link that other episode down below as well for you to
Mhm.
check out. But okay, you've tried vegan 2 months in. Obviously, it's not working. What's the next diet that you transition to?
Yeah, so then I slowly start to add in small amounts of meat, chicken, and eggs. So I guess without really knowing it, I was really on the paleo diet. Do you want to quickly explain what the paleo diet is, Kevin?
Yep, yep. So paleo diet, you may have also heard it referred to as the caveman diet. And really what this diet is all about is lean meats, fish, fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and then you're eliminating anything that's has a processed food related to it. So you don't have any grains, you're not having rice, you don't have dairy, not having any sort of refined sugars. And what people that are on this diet, they're trying to emulate really what our ancestors had during the Paleolithic era. Therefore, it's called the Paleo Diet.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess quickly rewinding back to the vegan diet, and I don't want to hate on the vegan diet because it does work for some people if you're properly supplementing with the right nutrients because it's really difficult to get everything you need from food. But a lot of people will go on a vegan diet and they'll feel better. And most of the time, this is because they're coming from the standard American diet where they're consuming mostly highly processed foods. So obviously, if you cut out the processed foods and you start eating real whole foods, your body's going to love you. You're going to be like, oh man, I was missing out on all of these nutrients and beneficial compounds in real food. So that's the other thing. A lot of people will try the vegan diet. They'll feel great immediately, but then over time, they'll start to create a lot of these deficiencies and feel worse and then go back to eating meat.
Yep.
So just a note there. But so the paleo diet for me, I didn't see any improvement in my symptoms. So we started off with the vegan diet. I felt worse. Then I went to the paleo diet, basically just adding in some meat and chicken and things like that. I really didn't see an improvement. I think part of the reason is because my gut was just so inflamed and destroyed that, adding in the little amount of protein from animal products that it really wasn't doing a whole lot. And like I said, I kept on reading and learning that meat is really hard to digest. Chicken's hard to digest. You don't want to be putting all of that on your digestive system. So yeah, I added these proteins back in, but again, I didn't notice a huge improvement in anything.
No, yeah, and I guess if for people listening, the quantity of meat that you were consuming at this point, if you have like a plate full of food, what percentage of the plate was meat?
Very small, maybe like 10 to 15%.
Okay, so just a
Like,
tiny bit of meat.
yeah, just like a few. I would just have a few pieces because I was honestly scared to eat it, and that was
Mhm.
the other thing. Like that's not good.
Yeah.
Because I was the mindset of going into the meal was, oh man, I'm scared to eat this steak right now because so many people said it's hard to digest, and then next thing you know, I'm eating it, and then I experience digestive symptoms because that's what I told myself.
Yep.
So a lot of it's mental and psychological as well.
There were years when I avoided red meat at all costs. I never had
Hmm.
a steak because the same exact reason. Everyone told me that it was hard to digest, and I already had trouble digesting food. So I was like, you know what? It's not even worth the risk for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have it. And in my head, I even told people, oh no, I can't eat red meat. But I
Yeah.
don't even know if I felt pain when I did previously. It was
Yeah.
just I had convinced myself of this to be a fact.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
same. Yeah, same.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, Kevin also has Crohn's, was diagnosed when?
2013, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So something we've both been dealing with. But yeah, it's crazy the amount of people that I guess doctors and other people out there that are saying, red meat is really, really difficult to digest when
Yep.
I can't say I find that the case right now.
No, no, not at all. Okay, so you've added back some protein, some animal meat. Things aren't really improving. Where do you go
Mhm.
from here on your kind of diet journey?
Yeah. So the next stop the next stop on the diet train was keto for me. So,
Mhm.
and I think I might reiterate this later in the podcast, but I just want to say, like, I wasn't trying these diets for a long period of time. I would do them for, maybe a month or two. And then if I didn't see any improvement, then I'd move on. And I think part of this, again, it it wasn't that wasn't a good thing. I wouldn't recommend that because I was constantly researching and I was constantly watching videos and listening to podcasts and reading books thinking, okay, like what's the next diet? Like what's the next thing I should try? And I think that mindset alone was not great for my health. I was constantly in a stressed state, even if I didn't feel stressed. My nervous system was definitely um, in a sympathetic state, which is also known as fight or flight. So basically, like I'm being attacked by something was what my body thought. So anyway, next stop was the keto diet for me. I heard a lot about it. I thought, oh, maybe it's the carbs that are messing with my digestion. Who
Mhm.
knows? So I said, all right, let me try the keto diet. And that is basically, for those that don't know, it's high fat, moderate protein, but then very, very low carb. So it cuts out any fruit, it cuts out any grains, which I wasn't eating a whole lot of grains, maybe some rice here and there, but it cuts out all grains, rice, oats, wheat, corn. No potatoes, no sweet potatoes, no legumes or beans or chickpeas or anything like that. Just animal protein, eggs, vegetables, and then high fat dairy as well, which I don't really think I consumed a whole lot of when I was on the keto diet. Um, but yeah, that's basically what it was. And I don't remember exactly how I felt on this diet, to be totally
No.
honest.
This so keto, I remember keto became the thing. Maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, everyone was talking about keto and how it was just like if you were trying to lose weight, you should go on keto. And it seemed to me at least the reason for that was because of the point you made about carbs.
Mhm.
If you have too many carbs, at least the way that a lot of people think about it, too many carbs means that you're going to put on weight. And so if you just cut out carbs, then you're going to lose weight. So everyone was doing this keto diet. And the way you've described it, what you're consuming, it feels like for a lot of people that would be a good thing. But maybe I guess there's also a benefit to consuming carbs too. Is that right?
Yeah, I definitely say there's a benefit to consuming carbs for sure.
Yeah, that's what my understanding is too, and a lot of times I'll associate with the consumption of carbs with energy.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, if you have carbs, you'll feel energized after, and it's kind of about what you do with that energy after you consume those carbs that can dictate how it impacts you.
Yeah, and I think the keto diet can be good short term. Not eliminating all carbs, but it's super
Mhm.
low carb. So I think for the vast majority of people, I think it can be a good short term diet to help you lose weight because the whole idea is that you're putting your body into ketosis, which is where keto diet comes from. So ketosis is where your body burns fat for energy instead of carbohydrates. So that's why it's very effective for losing weight. Um, but that's not to say that you can't lose weight while still consuming carbohydrates as well.
Mhm.
A lot of people that have done that as well. Um, but I guess kind of just going back to me personally, I think my gut was just in such a bad place where it didn't really matter what diet I was on. Everything just my nervous system was so dysregulated. My gut was so messed up. I was constantly stressed. I was at a job that I didn't enjoy, and just so many different factors where it to me it didn't really seem like it didn't matter what diet I was on. I was just not feeling good.
No, no, there was nothing you could do that was going to fix the core here, it sounds like. The
Right.
core
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
But then how did you fix the core issue? How did you get better?
I don't know. No, I do know. I stopped focusing on different diets, and even though that's what this podcast episode is about, I stopped focusing on foods and being obsessed with every single food that I was eating and thinking, oh man, is this gonna cause problems? Is this gonna hurt my stomach? Is this gonna hurt my back? Is this gonna make me sleepy? Is this gonna whatever it is? And I think step one for most people, whether you have digestive symptoms or any other chronic illness or disease, is to kind of just calm down. And I know it's so much easier to say that, but calm down, do some deep breathing, get outside in nature, get in the sunlight, and stay positive. I think that's kind of where you should start. And that's where I think I saw real improvement and real healing first take place, was when I said, you know what, forget about what diet I'm on. Let me just calm my nervous system, basically. And this is kind of around the time when I got into meditation and deep breathing, just like, quick 5, 10, 15-minute meditation. It's nothing crazy. And just feeling relaxed and peaceful in my own body and not worrying about food.
Yeah, rather just thinking about what impact the food was going to have on you was causing an impact on you, which is kind of wild to think about. But when you say calm down, you literally mean like calm your body down, like almost remove yourself from the stress through meditation, through deep breathing, whatever it might be. Okay, that is interesting.
Like literally, yes. Sit with yourself, close your eyes, try to just picture nothing, basically, just blackness, and do some deep breathing. Do that for 5 minutes and see how you feel afterwards, because you'll feel amazing and you'll feel so relaxed.
Yep. So I guess we were gonna talk about a couple more diets that you tried, but it is where do we want to go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I did try other diets. I don't even know if we want to go super in depth, but I did try the Carnivore Diet for no more than a few weeks, maybe a month at most. And that, again, I didn't feel great on it. I think my digestion was still in a really bad place. And I actually, like, when I was on the Carnivore Diet, I would barely go to the bathroom. Like, I was super constipated most likely because I wasn't getting any fiber or any fruits, vegetables, or anything like that into my diet. So didn't feel great on that either. But again, I kind of tried this all when I was in a very stressed state. So like I said, I don't think it mattered what diet I was on. Nothing was really going to work for me.
Yeah, you can't always just fix how you feel with just food alone. I think is maybe the message here.
Yeah.
That you're saying there are so many other factors that contribute to your overall health outside of food, and you had to get those in order first before food made any sense to kind of figure out from there.
100%. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. And for those that don't know, the Carnivore Diet is basically just consuming animal protein, meat, chicken, fish. Sometimes people do dairy, things like butter and cheese. But I think I do want to say the Carnivore Diet, I think, can be very beneficial for someone that does have all of that kind of in place already, and they're practicing stress reduction and all those things we just mentioned earlier. But I think the Carnivore Diet can be very good if you are if you use it as basically a elimination diet, so you can go on some sort of carnivore diet for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then you can slowly add back in foods to see what foods are kind of causing you problems. I tried this. I tried this diet in a very stressed state that I felt I was in, so it didn't really help a whole lot for me.
Yeah. It seems like this is one where I have seen a lot of people talk about, mainly on Twitter really, how this diet really helped them from
Mhm.
a point in time when they were really sick and they went all in on carnivore. And I think it kind of gets back to what you said about the vegan diet, where the diet itself is partially important here and can take some of the responsibility, but the bigger portion to take responsibility is eliminating all of the standard American diet. And I feel like carnivore kind of falls in this same bucket where you're getting rid of all the junk and just focusing on real foods. And I've seen Dr. Sean Baker on Twitter kind of retweet a lot of different people that have talked about the benefits
Mhm.
of a carnivore diet and sticking to that, eliminating all the junk food from their diet. So it seems like there are certainly, at least some anecdotally speaking, some benefits to going on this diet, but it's all about like the overall picture here that we've been hitting on, not just a diet alone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think all of these diets that we've talked about, they can work for people. I think the number one thing is just eliminating the ultra processed food and getting back to real food. That's kind of what our main message here on this podcast and throughout my social media platforms is. That's the message. It's eat real food, and then you can kind of customize that to fit your needs and your wants. But yeah, I think when it comes down to it, it's eating real food and it's cutting out the fake food.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So now
Yeah.
in your we're going back to the journey here that you've been
Hmm.
on. You've gotten yourself in a good spot through other areas outside of food, and then you were kind of ready for food to play an important role in your life. So talk to me now about what types of food you consume and kind of how you think about what you're putting in your body.
Yeah. So I'll say after I tried the carnivore diet, I was kind of just like, you know what? That's it. I've tried all the diets. I've tried everything. There's no specific diet that's going to magically heal me. I need to kind of, like we've talked about, focus on other things aside from food. So at that point, I kind of just accepted. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on real foods, mainly animal protein, fruits and vegetables, maybe some rice here and there. That was the diet that I focused on. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to eat real food and focus on these other aspects of my health. So I kind of accepted that. And I think that's when I truly started to see real healing and real improvement happening. So, yeah, so that's that's what happened.
Yeah, I guess for reference, how long ago was that? How long have you been in a state where you're feeling much better than you were?
Probably, I'd say like maybe a year and a half to 2 years.
A year
Um,
and a half. Okay. So,
close. Yeah,
and you said at the beginning that this was like 2018 when this
20.
really started. So this has kind of been a 6-year journey, but really only in the past 2 years or so have you really started to get into a better spot.
Yeah, I think the past year and a half, 2 years was when I really started to feel good again.
Hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of experimentation. I wouldn't say it's all for nothing, but tried a lot of different things and learned a lot along the way. So I was seeing improvement in my health, but I got to a point where I felt like I hit a wall and I wasn't improving anymore. And that's when I came across this animal-based diet. Kevin, what's the animal-based diet?
Yeah. So animal-based diet is, at least I think of it, kind of like the cousin of the carnivore diet.
Hmm.
Really, your diet is focused on animal sources, so that's meat, fish, eggs, dairy, and then you're limiting or even fully excluding anything that is a plant-based food. You're focused on whole, non-processed animal foods. This includes what Kyle has had recently: organ meats, a lot
Mm.
of bone broth. Kyle's done a bone broth fast, and that's really the focus of the animal-based diet.
Yep. So high quality meat, fruit, like eggs, pasture raised eggs as well. And then also sometimes people do dairy,
Mhm.
preferably raw dairy. But so I came across this diet specifically from Dr. Paul Saladino. He was talking about it, and he was basically saying, hey, there's a lot of defense chemicals and different problematic compounds that are found in foods like vegetables and grains and beans and legumes and that those sort of things that can be causing people problems and autoimmune issues. And he was like, if you're in great health, if you're thriving and you're consuming these foods, fine, don't change a thing. But if you're someone who is struggling, you've been on a healthy diet for a long time, but you're still struggling, you still feel like you haven't crossed the finish line, then maybe think about an animal-based diet. And that really caught my attention because that's kind of what I was going through. I had been on a clean diet for years at this point and felt like I hit a wall in my own health journey. So I thought this could be interesting. And I didn't try it right away. I continued to learn about it, but I still just kept on the same diet that I was on, which again was just primarily animal protein, fruits, and vegetables. So switching to this animal-based diet wouldn't have been very difficult for me. It really would have just been cutting out the vegetables that I was consuming and then maybe the grains, if anything. So 6 or 7 months ago, I come across this diet, continue to do a little bit more research and just learning about it, looking at what other people are saying about it. Are people trying this? And ultimately, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. So it wasn't until the beginning of this year, so January of 2024, when I was like, you know what? I want to try this diet. I want to commit to it for 1 month and see how I feel. So beginning of this year, I basically cut out any vegetables or anything like that, which I know a lot of people are like, what? Like vegetables aren't healthy? I think vegetables are great, but for someone like me that maybe has a lot of digestive issues still going on or other autoimmune problems, I think sometimes vegetables can be problematic. So I cut out the vegetables, I cut out any grains that I was consuming, and I basically just focused on meat and fruit. I didn't really do a whole lot of dairy. I wasn't doing a whole lot of dairy, maybe some grass-fed butter here and there, maybe some grass-fed cheese, but I didn't want to start adding in a bunch of raw dairy that I may not have tolerated well because historically I didn't really consume a whole lot of dairy. So basically meat and fruit was my diet for the month of January, and almost immediately within a week or two, my digestion had been the best it ever had been. And when I say that, I basically just mean like going to the bathroom very normally, regularly, having normal bowel movements, which is very, a lot of people don't like talking about poop, but super important. And it's a great way to tell how your digestion is. So immediately I noticed my digestion was great, was going to the bathroom regularly, didn't have any stomach pain that I always had. And so that was the first thing I noticed. And then as I continued to do it, I was like, wow, I'm noticing I have way more energy than I ever have. I'm sleeping well. I would always get tired like halfway through the day, and I normally don't nap, but I would like feel like, man, I could really use like a quick nap right now. And I just didn't experience any of that on this diet. I'm trying to think what else. Those were the main things. I was still, like I said, I felt like I hit a wall with the other diets. I was still experiencing digestive problems here and there, but with this diet, it almost eliminated that.
It did. It sounds like it was unlike the other ones. It was immediately impactful. You knew it was doing what it was supposed to, and maybe that's part of that is because you had figured out all the other aspects of your health, and you allowed this diet to kind of work the way it's supposed to, which I think could be one piece of it. But talk about foods that at least I have trouble digesting. Vegetables are at the top of the list for me, and I think for other people as well. One question, as you were talking about that I have, you talked about earlier how you were always kind of researching the next diet, and that was putting stress on your body. What did you do differently this time around when you were starting to research an animal-based diet where it wasn't stressful on you and you were kind of almost able to allow your body to maybe more casually learn about it, if that's the right way. At least that's the way I'm hearing about it. It sounds like from what you were saying, it wasn't like you were like in search of the next diet. It kind of
Yeah.
more so was presented to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was already kind of happy at where I was at in my health, but I thought, you know what, let's experiment. And I was kind of open-minded to it, and I wasn't like, oh man, like I need to fix my gut issue right now. Like let me try this diet. I hope this works. Oh man, what if this doesn't work? I didn't have that mindset, where I think I had that mindset going into every other diet. It
Mhm.
was, oh man, I hope this diet is going to help. Oh man, but what if it doesn't help? It was just, hey, let me try this diet. I've seen a lot of people talk about it online. I've seen a lot of people talk about the benefits. Let me try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, oh well.
Mhm.
So I think that's the mindset I went with going into the diet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, healthier.
I don't, yeah, and I don't even like using the word diet. Like it's just real food.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yep. Diet, I feel like is every time I think it's just some sort of set of foods that are really just trying to help you lose weight. Like I always
yeah,
associate diet with weight.
for sure, for sure.
I wonder if there's a better word for these,
Yeah,
just like lifestyle choice kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. It is a lifestyle. Yeah.
Hmm.
But like going back to this diet, I've never. Not only do I feel the best on this diet, but I've never experienced a diet like this where I feel so satiated. So like it's by far the most enjoyable diet I've ever been on. So specifically, I'm eating a lot of 100% grass-fed beef, some pasture-raised eggs here and there. Um, I'm still consuming fermented foods, so things like sauerkraut and kimchi. I don't do a whole lot of. Pickles are great. This is all, good bacteria. Basically, they have the probiotic effect, but then they also contain prebiotics because it's it has the prebiotic fiber in there as well, and then fruit, and also some sweeteners like raw honey and maple syrup. Raw honey and maple syrup both have a lot of health benefits as well. So just eating those foods specifically, it's just so enjoyable to me. Like
Hmm.
you get the sweetness from the fruit and the natural sweeteners. You get the protein and the fat and the satiation from the high quality animal protein. It's just so satisfying. I don't feel the need to snack in between meals because I'm literally just not hungry. I don't feel the need as much to have dessert after every one of my meals, which is not the case for previous diets I've been on. I feel like I've always needed like a sweet treat
Hmm.
after I have a meal to satisfy my sweet tooth, but I guess the fruit and the natural sweeteners are kind of doing that already, so I don't feel the need to go for that, even if it's a healthy chocolate bar or whatever it may be. I just don't feel the need for that anymore. And if like I think even if before I even started developing digestive symptoms and going through all of these diets, I think if someone told me or if someone asked me, Kyle, like what is your ideal diet? I would say meat and fruit because those are
Hmm.
just two of the most delicious things.
Hmm.
And I think there's something in our body that knows that we need meat. Um, People see a steak or a piece of animal protein or something, and it just looks so delicious.
Yeah.
Like there's something in our DNA that knows we need meat.
Yeah. It's like our ancestors, like they grew up on it. That's the
Yeah.
food that they had. They hunted and killed their food, and that doesn't like leave you as we kind of evolved. It's still part of who we are.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I think that's the main thing too. Is like I've kind of been getting back to what would humans have eaten historically speaking, and it was, well, they'd go kill an animal, they'd eat meat, and then they would find whatever fruit they could off of the tree, and they'd eat that to basically keep them going, so they could go hunt the next day and kill an animal and
Hmm.
do it on repeat. So
Yep.
that's that's the diet, I guess, that I've been on recently, and I'm feeling good.
Yeah, that's what matters, and this is kind of where we'll wrap up. The kind of the where we started this conversation, what we had planned, even we kind of deviated from that, but I think it was an important deviation to get to what really matters, and it's less about the diet itself, but more so how you feel in your overall health. But any kind of closing thoughts you want to leave everyone with on this one?
Yeah, I think the main thing is don't do what I did. Don't don't constantly search for different diets, just expecting magic to happen immediately when you switch to one of these diets. I think you should take into account these other tools like stress reduction, doing meditation, or even just like deep breathing exercises, prioritizing sleep. Sleep is so important. Minimizing blue light at night, getting sunlight in the morning and throughout the day, all of these things. We did an entire episode on sleep. So we'll link that as well down below in the description. Getting outside, I think that's something I wasn't doing enough early on. Getting outside, moving my body, just being in the sunlight, being in nature. You can go on hikes or trails where there's natural water and trees and different things. I think that's just so calming for the human body. And then, like I said, moving your body, going on walks. If you can go to the gym and lift some weights as well, that's also fantastic. All of these things. I think the problem that I focused on was it's just diet and nothing else matters. I basically had blinders on, I guess. Yeah. Like I was just focused on diet, nothing else matters. Where I think we need to look at everything big picture, take all of these things into account, and eat real food. No matter if you're struggling with an autoimmune disease or digestive problems, or you're perfectly healthy, just continue to consume real foods and focus on healthy lifestyle habits.
That's it. That's where we're ended today.
That's where we're gonna end it today. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Clean Kitchen Podcast. We will be back next week, hopefully with a special guest. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to share this with a friend if you found it helpful. We'll see you next week.